Okay, Friday, 30th of May, 2025. So, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Thanks to Bitcoin, you don't need to learn to stock pick or spend time managing your wealth. Now, this is an interesting result that has emerged from people storing their time and energy, their savings really, in Bitcoin, that they don't need to worry about managing the wealth per se. So I heard somewhere, I can't remember where from actually, that people in Argentina, for example, spend a good third, something like that, of their time, 20%, 10% of their time, just managing their wealth, earning it and all that, and having to allocate and manage and move and maneuver things like that. When to do this, when to go from dollar this to peso and dollar blue, that kind of stuff. All the nuances. But because Bitcoin is deflationary and a savings mechanism, and it's decentralized and other important first principles like that, it kind of takes care of itself because of the nature of it, because it's maths, physics, and computer science, because it's the life raft in a sea of fiat that's expanding. So whatever happens in terms of M2 money supply, the amount of fiat there is in the world, as it increases, Bitcoin floats up with it because of its fixed supply. Therefore, and because it's deflationary, you don't need to worry so much about managing it. Rebalancing over here, moving over there, allocating this, changing the proportions over there, things like that. Likewise, you don't need to learn or worry about having to pick stocks. You don't need to worry about becoming a professional investor, so to speak, because your money that you earn, and you earn from your job, as you mine fiat, so to speak, and you save your time and energy in it, it appreciates over time in value, gets higher price. That's the same as stock picking, because you're seeing it as a way to get more pounds or more dollars, more euros. And the same thing over here, you could argue in a way, you're getting more pounds, euros, and dollars. But over here, you've got to pick, this company, that company, this balance sheet, this market, this sector, this industry. I need to study this book, study that, read this, understand this concept, understand that, with the aim of getting more pounds and dollars and euros back. But over here, it does it automatically because of its nature. Again, the sea of fiat is increasing. It's like a life raft that floats upwards. Wow. It means that you don't need to spend time, opportunity cost, studying and learning all these things. You can focus on your skill, your passion, your art, your craft, your business, that instead. And not have to worry about managing the money so much or having to pick and allocate capital the most efficient way, i.e. invest as best you can. You don't need to worry about that because its nature, again, deflationary, it does the same thing. That's powerful. It also means that when you follow that logic, you don't need to do stock picking because of its decentralized nature. It has no balance sheet risk. It has no CEO risk. It has no office risk, no supply chain risk, no tariff risk, no tort risk or litigation risk. You name it. No scandal risk. Something happens with the board or something happens with the CEO. There's none of that by definition. And you could even say, as I was about to say, you don't need to worry about politics either, because you're one step removed away from the political guesswork, the minutiae, the promises and the trust. Just how in the same way I don't have to worry about the interest rates in Mongolia. These things affect me in a very indirect way, in a very distant way, but not directly. So you're one step removed. So if interest rates over here change or over there change, it affects me even less so because I'm not directly exposed to it. I have no direct correlation to it. I am buffeted by this wall of maths and physics and computer science where my time and energy is being stored in the satoshis. And because of the M2 money supply as it expands, because of its nature, the first principles of Bitcoin, as it's deflationary, it rises up as well. So the interest rates can change, the inflation can change, but it doesn't exactly and truly affect me. It affects me in indirect ways, yes, but the level of effectiveness, how I am affected by it, is drastically reduced. Because you see, by holding dollars and euros and pounds, you're exposing yourself to political risk, managing the economy risk, tariff risk even as well. I'm going, by holding pounds, I'm betting, I'm going long that the government does a good job, the economy grows, the UK has a good reputation, things like that. I'm exposed to those risk factors. But by storing my time, energy, and life, so to speak, in Bitcoin, I'm one step removed. It doesn't have those political risks. It's apolitical. It doesn't even have tariff risk. It doesn't have central bank risk, or central bank guesswork, or government promises, or trust in institutions. No guesswork, no promises, no trust. None of these things are needed. Because again, Bitcoin is maths. 1 + 1 will always equal 2, no matter what year, decade, century, or millennia it is. Interesting. But that's something very interesting to understand. With Bitcoin, you don't need to worry about the time allocating the money, because it appreciates for you. It's deflationary. You don't have to worry about picking stocks and knowing which one to pick and being aware and following the news and whatever else, because it's deflationary. You don't have to worry about the political exposure, because it's apolitical, it's decentralized. There's no risk. There's no balance sheet risk, no supply chain risk, no management risk, no litigation risk, no performing well risk. There's no earnings risk. I did a video about this. Volatility and risk are two different things. Very interesting. Very interesting first principles to understand. These are consequences of the first principles of Bitcoin being decentralized. No central point of attack or failure. It means there's no CEO gets hit by a bus risk. No risk of the head office, the headquarters, being raided by the police and disrupting the company. There's no risk. It doesn't exist. And I did another video as well, actually, months ago, talking about 0 and 1% risk. If there's a 1% chance of something bad happening, and you have the ability to decrease it from 1 to 0, it's not very much at all, but it makes the whole world of difference. 1% or 1.001.0001% of something bad happening, even though it could be infinitesimally small, there's still a non-zero chance, meaning there is a chance of it happening. But over here, by definition, 0 is impossible. So the risk is totally non-existent. No CEO risk. No office being raided by the police risk. That's powerful. Very, very powerful. And because of the first principles again, decentralization and deflationary, fixed supply, it increases in value. So why, you could even argue, why bother invest in certain things, stocks? Because as you recognize in business, there's a concept called opportunity cost of capital. You have these two investments, A and B, £100, both of them, just £100 today. But in 5 years, this could be, say, 1,000, and this could be £200. So over those 5 years, you've made money. You can't deny that. Here, in B, you've doubled your money, £100 extra. But here, you have 10x, £900 extra. So as you understand the first principles of Bitcoin, study Bitcoin, study Bitcoin, study Bitcoin, you realize that in the long term, very, very few things, if anything, can outcompete Bitcoin in the long term. That also has the same number of absolute minimal non-existent risk factors. Interestingly, you could say companies that are built on top of Bitcoin could indeed outperform Bitcoin, and some speculations and some market pumps and dumps here and there might outperform Bitcoin on a 5-minute chart or a 5-hour chart or a 5-day chart. But over a 5-year chart, well, very, very difficult. So then, as a practical matter, why invest in anything else? Interesting. Looking at, and this is just connecting the dots. First principles, study Bitcoin, study Bitcoin, study Bitcoin, increases your knowledge and conviction, and understand this economic principle, opportunity cost of capital. Well, why anything else? Unless There's a specific reason, sentimental reason why. A specific technical, emotional reason, sentimental reason, sure. Or you think it's going to outpace Bitcoin in the long term as well, because it's built on top of Bitcoin. If the Bitcoin's a rocket doing 1,000 miles per hour, and this company does 10 miles per hour, then there's no competition. But if the company is built on top of Bitcoin, natively or not, or adopts Bitcoin in some way, then 1,010 miles per hour, still more than 1,000. To follow the analogy. Interesting. Very interesting way of looking at it. Yeah. But otherwise, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.